In our next example here, we're going to search for hooks that relate to the popular e-commerce plugin WooCommerce. We could see that with a simple Google search, we could find access to their documentation and hooks. This is a good sign. Once we get in here, though, what we'll find is that we get a huge list of all of the possible hooks and then what files they're called in. However, we don't have further documentation about what they accept, what other things are tied in, or example code that we could use to override it. So let's say, for example, that we wanted to look further into the WP Commerce after cart, or an easier one, the WP Commerce after mini cart, since we could see one appears in a number of files and one appears in just a single one. From here, if we know what we're doing, and we know that this is just an action, we could say add action and simply add our action in and hook into this. However, if we come down and we're working with the filters, we may not know exactly what it is that we're getting in order to filter or other parameters that might be involved. So in this case, it's going to require us to do another Google search that I usually start with by searching for the actual function or the actual hook. And then you could begin working through sites that begin to show you some of the content. And then you could begin pulling up sites that show you some examples of where it's used in the source code, as well as hopefully how you can use it on your own site. You'll find that some of the files, for example, are hosted on GitHub, so if we pull up one of the GitHub templates that has this in it, we could find it here. This would be similar, for example, to just searching the source code of actual WooCommerce. So I bring up WooCommerce for a specific reason. We could see that it has some documentation, and it has a ton of hooks, but it isn't quite as robust as Gravity Forms in terms of all of the documentation it gives you, examples and explanations of how to use it. However, this may be the place with a lot of other functions that you try to tie into, which is why it's important to know how to search for things like add filter, apply filters, add action, do action, so that you can begin to look in some of these functions and files for where this is occurring and understand what's being passed along with it and what is expected back.